Namaskar and welcome to Sundays with Kaivalyadhama. Today at our SRD episode, we have with us a very special guest, Mrs. Pratibha Rajbhoj. Namaskar and thank you for your time. Pratibha ji has been a research officer for 8 years. She's published a number of papers and edited a book of abstracts and bibliography. She is also Member Secretary of Institutional Ethics Committee of Kaivalyadhama Yoga Institute. In addition, she is also actively doing research with Ayush-funded projects and CCRYN-funded projects. Today, our subject or our topic is going to be about cytokines. And I am sure you have heard about the term cytokine storm, especially in today's day and age. So let's get the information from the expert. So Pratibha ji, what are cytokines?
Cytokines are basically the chemical messengers. See, when any infection, any pathogen enters in our body responds to it in a manner that certain cells, when fight that infection, they secrete certain chemical messengers that are nothing but cytokines. Cytokines are proteinic in nature. They are glycoproteins, peptides also, and they modulate and regulate the immune response of the body. They also modulate and regulate inflammation, as well as they modulate and regulate the production of different blood cells.
And why are cytokines important?
Cytokines are, as I told you earlier, cytokines are chemical messengers. They tell us, tell our immune system that, see, there is an infection and you have to rush and come and fight over. So these are the chemical messengers, just like hormones and neurotransmitters. They are very important and very crucial during infection and stress-like situation.
And is that the reason why they are present, or are there some other reasons why they come into the body?
There are certain reasons when they expressed in our body, when there is an infection, foreign particle, that is antigen, enters in our body. In response to that, cytokines are released. In stress also, cytokines are released.
So what are the different kinds of cytokines? Are there like different types, or I mean, I've heard this inflammatory and anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
Can you give us maybe some information on the similarities or the differences?
The pro-inflammatory cytokines are these cytokines that are expressed when the pathogen enters. The first defense. The inflammation occurs due to pro-inflammatory cytokines, and anti-inflammatory cytokines are minimized, or we can say they are down-regulated when infection enters. But when disease progresses, pro-inflammatory cytokines are at peak, which worsens the disease.
Okay.
And anti-inflammatory cytokines, when increased, they suppresses pro-inflammatory cytokines, and they tries to maintain the balance between pro and anti-inflammatory cytokines so as to achieve a normal immune response.
So then, would it be correct to say that cytokines exist in our bodies throughout our lives?
They secreted when there is a stress, there is a pathogen, the entry of pathogen, then only they are secreted. They are secreted by mainly activated lymphocytes, macrophages, and dendritic cells. They are also secreted by epithelial cell, endothelial cell, and some of the connective tissue cells. Their action is like autocrine and paracrine and endocrine. Autocrine means some cells secrete the cytokines, and these cytokines act on that cell itself. Paracrine is an action when cytokines secreted by one cell their target cell is a neighboring cell, that is paracrine, and sometimes they act on distantly located target cell. That time we can call them as a endocrine cytokines, because just like that of those hormones, they act on distantly located areas. So Cytokines are paracrine, endocrine and autocrine in nature.
Okay.
And they helps to maintain immunity.
So will it be fair to say that anywhere from a virus to an injury, like a physical injury where you fall and you break your skin, to cancer, to pretty much any disease, is it fair to say the cytokines are there?
Yeah.
Okay.
They get secreted during the time when such situation is
Right.
there. Whether they are autoimmune diseases, they are non-communicable, communicable. Cytokines play a very vital role in disease management.
Okay. So how do you then? You say there's inflammatory and anti-inflammatory. So how can you make your body create the good ones, which are the anti-inflammatory? Correct?
Yeah. I would like to quote my study over here in this case. Like we have published one paper in Journal of Clinical and Diagnostic Research where we have taken a study on industrial workers. Industrial workers generally work for more than 8 hours, and sometimes when they work overtime, they work for more than 12 hours also. And the participants that we have enrolled in our study were steel and iron industry workers, where the common pollutants, I would like to tell you all, the common pollutants are ozone, dust particles, oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulfur, hydrocarbons, and H2S, that is hydrogen sulfide. These are the common pollutants which leads to produce pro-inflammatory cytokines in the body. And in these workers, these pro-inflammatory cytokines are elevated and anti-inflammatory cytokines are suppressed. Along with these pollutants, there are certain other reasons of inflammation, like stress. For example, these workers have stress related to their financial, their income, their socio-economic status, their education, their family problems, and extended work hours, work pressure. These are the common reasons of stress in them that we have confirmed using our psychological questionnaires also. So these pollutants along with stress creates inflammation in these industrial workers. So what we have done, we have studied them before the active yoga intervention started and at the end of the intervention. That means we have studied them at 2 time points, at T0 when the study began and at the end of the study when intervention stopped. 3 months of intervention ended. So what we observe, at the beginning the pro-inflammatory cytokines were elevated and at the end of the study the pro-inflammatory cytokines were decreased. And exactly opposite with the anti-inflammatory cytokines. They were lower at the beginning and they increase at the end of the study. So here I would like to say that if you have seen the yoga module that we have chosen in our study and the yoga sessions conducted over here in Kaivalyadhama, you will observe that after, before and after every yoga session, they used to conduct a prayer. Prayer has its own benefits.
So Kaivalyadhama Yoga Institute has a specific system, a system where there is a prayer followed by the yoga asana. So we let Pratibha ji take us through that system in terms of how important the whole aspect of body, mind, spirit is towards a fulfilled yoga class and towards helping us with anti-inflammatory cytokines, correct?
Yeah. So every yoga session here in Kaivalyadhama starts and ends with prayer. Prayer has its own benefits. Like prayer creates a positive attitude towards life. Prayer is very relaxing and what we can say, prayer is take us to very close to our Almighty, and that is why prayer has its own benefits. Also, after each asana that we have taken in my study, after each asana we used to practice shavasana, which is a very relaxing one, and it is very beneficial that due to this Shavasana and these moderate asanas, immune system enhances. Like in one study by John Neiman, it was proved that moderate exercises improves immunity. And in this particular study, the model was so chosen that it has tried to touch upon maximum aspects of yoga. Like we have taken first prayer, then after each asana, the moderate asanas, after each asana, moderate exercise, we used to take Shavasana. And for breathing exercises, we have taken pranayama. And for cleansing, as these were the industrial workers, we have taken the cleansing practice, Kapal Bhati. And in every week, we used to take one meditation class by our meditation expert, Dr. Rajbhoj. So we tried to take these participants from cleansing to meditation so as to take complete care of their health.
Excellent. So for the ones who are not aware of what cleansing practices are, you can write to us and ask for a consult, or maybe just visit us if you can. Other than that, we have a lot of digital programs going on kaidham.com, so feel free to log in, join one of our senior teachers and senior masters who are taking classes on pranayam, asanas, dharana, pratyahara, meditation. But in the meantime, we'll get back to understanding cytokines and the cytokine storm. So Pratibha ji, what is this cytokine storm that people are talking about nowadays in the media?
See, when any infection enters in our body, what happens? Body reacts in the form of chemical messengers, cytokines. Like when there is an infection, many cytokines, particularly in cytokine storm, many cytokines are produced very quickly and in a huge amount. This is an aberrant reaction of immune system to the infection. In the cytokine storm particularly, the blood vessels become thinner and permeable. What happens when they become thinner and permeable? The blood has two components, one is liquid component and one is cellular component. When the blood vessels become thinner and permeable, the liquid part of blood flows off, and the cellular part remains in the blood vessel, and it coagulates. When it coagulates, it creates a block. So the blood flow stops to the blood that flows and transfer to all the organs for their better functioning stops. And due to this, that particular organ becomes organ dysfunctions, or finally it fails. That means it do not work. This is how the multiple organs fail during cytokine storm.
Okay, and so in order for us to improve our, if I may say, the ratio of inflammatory versus anti-inflammatory, you were quoting one researcher on the effects of moderate exercise.
Yeah, Dr. John Neiman.
No, John Neiman. So is there any data, or can you share with us, not the comparison, but the similarities in moderate exercise and the Kaivalyadhama yoga system? Is it similar, or does the Kaivalyadhama yoga system get you a better anti-inflammatory response?
There is no comparative study between moderate exercises and yoga as such. But we have seen comparatively, when we see the results of moderate exercise and yoga, we could see there are similar effects, almost similar effects of moderate exercise and yoga.
Okay, and you were also talking about your research paper on pollution.
Yeah.
So pollution, stress, what are the other factors that can create inflammation in the body?
Number one, I would like to say pollution, means not as per their intensity, just to quote one by one. One is pollution. Our body is very smart. It is very smart in recognizing self and non-self substances. So whenever a non-self substance, that is foreign particle or pollutant or any antigen, allergen enters in our body, body responds and tries to fight over it. In that case, pro-inflammatory cytokines get elevated, obviously, and this is how there is an imbalance between the pro and anti-inflammatory cytokines. And in some cases, these pollutants, when enter in some sensitive person, like who is allergic to certain things, certain chemicals, they produce hypersensitivity reactions, allergic reactions in the body, and their whole immune system is imbalanced.
Okay, so that means even a patient who is suffering from cancer or fibromyalgia could also benefit by doing Kaivalyadhama yoga system?
Yeah, at certain extent it will.
Okay, so now looking at the inclusion of yoga, and when we talk about yoga, we are talking about the Kaivalyadhama style of yoga again, where you have the prayer, you have the asanas done in a very traditional manner. There's focus on shavasana and relaxation. There is also focus on pranayam, which are the breathing patterns or energetic transference techniques. And most importantly, I guess, the intention of moving into a state of union. And we have a lot of data and a lot of research to prove that yoga done in the traditional way has maximum benefits for improving anti-inflammation. It also has a benefit for mental health, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, absolutely. See, some practices like Trataka, prayer, they help, especially Trataka, I would like to say, it helps psychological cleansing. Here I would like to quote Professor Rajbhoj's book on mental health, where he has quoted 150 research is done in Kaivalyadhama, where
150.
Yeah,
150. Wow.
But they are not. The only drawback is they were not recorded, not documented. That's the only one drawback. Otherwise, if you would, you will look at the mental health book by Professor Rajbhoj, you'll come to know that mental health is improved by practices like Trataka, which is eye cleansing as well as psychological cleansing exercise.
Can you take us through the technique of Trataka? Do you know the technique? No? Okay.
I know the technique, but I can't confidently say that.
Okay, fine. No worries. So we'll skip that. For the ones who have practiced Trataka, you know what we are talking about. But if you haven't, please go online, research what Trataka is about. It's a very beneficial, very cleansing technique. For me, it works on, of course, mental cleansing, which is very important. But also it works for your concentration, and it really helps you go deep into your pineal gland. So try that and you'll be surprised with the benefits. So we've looked at the importance of a strong immune system. We've understood the cytokine storm, the inflammatory cytokine storm. We looked at pollution being a major factor, but in this research paper that Mrs.Pratibha Rajbhoj has, she's also spoken about stress being an important factor, or mismanagement of stress causing inflammation. And let's look at how management of stress can help us with anti-inflammation.
Whenever we talk about stress, you must have heard about cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It is known as a stress hormone. Whenever there is a stress, toxic stress, it is elevated. And when cortisols are elevated, the pro-inflammatory cytokines are also elevated. This is how stress also disturbs immunity.
So what are the kind of stress factors that can play a role? Are you talking about mental stress, emotional stress, physical stress? Can you give us a bit of guidance on that? Or are you looking at all kind of stress?
All kind of stress leads to increase in these pro-inflammatory cytokines and disturbing the immunity.
And yoga has an answer for that too?
Yes. That is why I mentioned Trataka here. It helps in psychological cleansing, and meditation and pranayama are such beautiful things in yoga that helps managing stress.
Lovely. And considering that you're coming from a science background, from research background, to see the benefits of a practice like yoga, it's a direct relation to how important it is in today's day and life. Not only to help you manage stress, but to perform at your best. In fact, in your research paper that we went through, it was showing some fantastic results in terms of parameters. Can you share some of the parameters with us?
We have taken pro-inflammatory cytokine IL-1 beta and anti-inflammatory cytokine IL-10. In my study, in particularly that study, we observed that IL-1 beta was high in the beginning, and it lowered at the end of the study. And same exactly opposite to IL-10, it was what we can say, it was minimum, it was below detectable level, and then it it increased at the end of the study. This is how we proved that yoga helps in improving anti-inflammatory cytokines. Excellent. And tries yoga tries to maintain balance between pro and anti-inflammatory cytokines, and so as to achieve normal immune status.
Are there any other parameters that you can talk about from a technical point of view?
There are certain other parameters, like in pro-inflammatory cytokines we can see IL-6 is there, and there are so many IL-1 type family cytokines. Then there is in anti-inflammation IL-4 is there, IL-10 is there, and there are there are so many cytokines that we can list in anti-inflammatory cytokines. These cytokines, what exactly does, they stops the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines. This is how it is. And there is a big family of cytokines. Just have a big list of cytokines that we can talk about when such situation appears.
Great. That's some fantastic data and some very amazing new words which even I'm just beginning to understand. What is the importance of exercise in all of this? How important is exercise?
When we talk about moderate exercises and long and exhaustive exercises, it is seen that the athletes who does exhaustive exercises have faced so many times they have faced upper respiratory tract infections. Why this happens? During exhaustive exercises, a open window forms. This open window lasts for 72 hours. And during this time, this 72 hours, there is an opportunity to microorganisms to invade the host. Here, host means human body. The person who is performing exhaustive exercises for a long time. So, in that period, when especially viruses enters, like those who affect upper respiratory tract infection, has golden opportunity to invade the host and form these infections in the body. And there is one study also, actually there are so many studies, those have quoted that athletes have more upper respiratory tract infection. And in case of moderate exercises, there is exactly opposite. There is no such evidence that moderate exercises has such bad effects on upper respiratory tract infections. In fact, moderate exercises helps maintaining normal immune levels. Such references and such studies are there. And yoga is like a moderate exercise, and there are certain references which quote that yoga is also beneficial in maintaining this normal immune status, and thereby optimum health is achieved.
That's fantastic. I mean, I would completely agree with what you've said, because as an athlete myself, I've found that especially this whole go hard and go home concept sounds all fun and sounds athletic and sounds great, but I've always wondered why I keep getting these upper respiratory tract symptoms, if not infections. And I have found that when I pull back from my exercise and I move into more of therapy yoga, especially here at the Kaivalyadhama ashram, I find that my recovery happens not in 72 hours, but actually in 1.5 days, which is half that time. So, I mean, there's no research, but I'm being the research subject over here. So that's fantastic amount of information you've given. To add to what you've said, it's a known fact that athletes are not always well. because wellness means a balance of body, mind, and spirit. And that's another reason why yoga is so important, especially traditional yoga, in helping you with your immunity, in balancing out your inflammatory, anti-inflammatory cytokines, and more than anything, help you recover. So is there any relation between yoga by itself, and not moderate exercise, but just yoga by itself and how it helps with immunity?
This is what I talked about my study.
Yeah.
There I have quoted this.
Yes.
That yoga by itself
Self.
can leads to a positive health, a good immunity, and a balanced state of what we can say good state of health.
Thank you so much for your time and the invaluable information that we've been able to share with all the viewers. And I hope all you viewers have been able to take on board the importance of yoga and also moderate exercise in helping you with your immunity. Remember, there's nothing to fear. It's all in your hands, and just simple, gentle exercises, or even better, just rolling out your yoga mat and doing a nice traditional yoga session. If you want more information, or if you need any assistance, log on to kaidham.com. We have a lot of online resources, lots of classes happening, and a lot of digital content for you to benefit from. Namaste, and thank you once again for being part of Sundays with Kaivalyadham.